Who's this Dekiru, and why do all the pros want to adopt him? By 80sGayTrashGoblin. Chapter 8. The Meeting. The silence was so thick you could hear a pin drop. Jodo raised an eyebrow, silently assessing the kid. He was covered in scars running up and down his arms. He had bags under his eyes, and his emerald eyes, which had previously been full of brightness and innocence, were now hard with the look of someone who had seen too much. Jodo didn't know what happened to give a kid the skills to lie so convincingly. He didn't really want to know. "You're Dekiru?" Tinsy asked. "But you're so young." Everyone looked at Naomasa. He just sighed. He's telling the truth. "He's so cute!" Namiri burst out, cooing over the kid. "He's a little broccoli-chan." The kid flushed as the other ladies and Hisashi started cooing over him, shooting a dirty look at Keigo. Keigo shrugged, raising his hands up defensively. "I sent them a picture of you, kid." Midai sighed. "Are we sure he should be on the case if he's so young? He's still a civilian." He was trying to be scolding, but the cat perched on his shoulder blunted the effect. "As long as I stay behind the screen and off the field, I'm still safe," Dekiru said, going behind the counter for something. "Besides, I know enough about the case that you can't really take me off without having me sign a shit ton of NDAs. He took a seat at the table, having pulled out a few different green manila folders, a notebook, and a laptop. "I'm ready when you guys are," he said, nodding to the detective. The detective sighed, probably already having a headache and coming from the can of worms that the problem child just opened up. "Alright. There's been new information that's been brought to the table regarding the trigger case. But first, I'd like to hear Dekiru's analysis with the information we've been able to provide him." The green ant nodded, pulling out the first folder and opening it up. "We've currently identified 3 dealers of the new version of Trigger," he said. "Mida Ryoichi, Enokita Shohei, and Iwakiri Naozane." The folder opened up, and Shota saw the face of Mida Ryoichi. "Mida Ryoichi, 27 years old. Quirk Trick or Treat. He can summon small pumpkins, which explode on command. He's dealt other drugs before, but this is the first time he's picked up an illegal drug to sell. He has connections to the Demon Riders, presumably where he's been getting his drugs from before he started dealing Trigger. He relies on his quirk too much, so either dodging the pumpkins or turning off his quirk is sufficient enough to bring him in. I recommend Eraserhead and a pro hero for backup. Eraserhead should be able to take him on his own, but with Mida having Trigger on his person, it's best not to take the chance." Dekiru opened the next folder. "Enokita Shohei, 37 years old. Quirk Bait. He has an influential voice that specifically makes his taunts more effective. He was a former member of the Abagawa Tenshukai before they were disbanded, and his previous jobs were assassinations, not drug dealings. His fighting style heavily relies on his kanabo, though he does have knives on him. As long as you can ignore his taunts, he essentially fights quirkless. I'd recommend Ingenium and Rocklock, as a combination of speed and immobilization should be able to take him down quickly." Finally, he opened the last folder. "Iwakiri Naozane, 21 years old. Quirk Impulse. She can create brief electromagnetic pulses from the spikes on her forehead. She's had a history of graffiti and assault charges, and she comes from a poor family, which is possibly why she turned to trigger dealing. She's an inexperienced fighter, so as long as any equipment brought to fight her aren't shorted by the EMPs, I'd recommend Midnight and another hero as backup. Midnight should be able to knock her out on her own, but like with Mida, she has Trigger on her. We should be careful." Dekiru closed the 3 folders, sliding them forwards to the middle of the table. There's more details inside those folders. They're all encrypted. Based on the info, we're looking for a large Yakuza group behind the trigger dealings. One large enough to offer enough money to tempt the poor, notable enough to catch the attention of other former Yakuza members, and with enough influence to reach into the underground pharmaceuticals business. I have a short list of 50 Yakuza groups here. He opened his notebook to the page he was talking about. But without information, that's where I'm at. They all looked at each other, and now Amasova pulled out the 2 pages with the Yakuza lists. Mirai cleared his throat, speaking up. We've got footage of a 4th dealer, he said, opening his laptop. We're hoping you could possibly identify him and the person he was meeting with. I'll take a look, Dekiru said, opening a blank page to his notebook. He nodded to Mirai, who played the video, and then started muttering faster than anyone could make out. Everyone looked at each other, just kind of watching as Dekiru started to write while he muttered, completely focused on the footage. Shota watched as Dekiru opened a new tab, searching for the light blue and purple crystals. He then wrote down Tanzanite, flipped to the police database, and started searching for quirks that produced Tanzanite. Hojo Yu, he said, turning his laptop to the other pro heroes. Quirk, crystallize. He can summon Tanzanite crystals all over his body, although they're worthless on the general market. He had a previous affiliation with the Keshorobo, a quirk crystal trafficking group. It could be that the Yakuza group saw that he was dropped by the Keshorobo and saw an opportunity to get another dealer. What about the other person? Shota asked, one eyebrow raised. The conclusion the kid reached in only a few minutes was impressive. He could see now Masa taking notes. Dekiru turned the laptop back to him. This was the more difficult part, as the person who was completely in the shadows. They could only see a small silhouette that the camera could pick out. He didn't seem daunted though, instead porting the footage into some sort of video editing software. He cranked up the contrast and the silhouette of the figure could be more fully defined. Mimic. Quirk mimicry, Dekiru muttered, continuing to write. The general manager of the Shiei Hasaikai. Are you sure? Mirai asked, looking back over the footage. I'm sure, Dekiru said, pulling back his list of Yakuza organizations from the detective. With a pen he managed to pull out, he circled the entry that said Shiei Hasaikai. The Plague Doctor mask is a dead giveaway, along with the short stature. So we're taking on one of the oldest and also more influential Yakuza groups? Namiri asked. Sounds like a party. What's your breakdown on them, Dekiru? Washi asked, his mandibles clicking slightly as he spoke. Dekiru clicked his pen as he looked over the information he had. Nekiru on his shoulder and nibbling on his green curls. I can send you a more in-depth breakdown tomorrow, but I can give you guys my initial thoughts now. When Shota nodded at him, he continued to speak. Hojo's crystals can grow nearly instantaneously, and they're fairly durable, but they aren't unbreakable. You'd want heavy hitters who do a lot of damage to counteract his crystals, such as Death Arms or Miruko. Another option are long-range fighters, such as Snipe, because his quirk is best suited for close range. Mimic's quirk, Mimicry, allows him to transfer his body and mind into an object and manipulate it like it's his own body. Normally, he can only possess objects up to the size of a refrigerator. A trigger is involved, so we shouldn't rely on that. However, when he's immersed in an object, he has to manifest a body part in order to take in his surroundings, so that's a weak point that can be used. We want heroes who are maneuverable or mobilized, such as Rocklock, Hawks, or Miruko. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. Everyone was quiet, as the detective and Mirai were taking notes on everything that Dekiru was saying. When he talked, he had a captivating presence, drawing in all of the pro heroes. It was impressive seeing his brain work in person. That was amazing, little listener, Izashi exclaimed. The only thing keeping the windows from being shattered was Shota's instinct in turning off his husband's quirk. It's amazing to see your work in real time, Awada chimed in. Absolutely fascinating, Shinsei added. Each compliment made the kid flush more and more red. Shota snickered, quietly petting Eraserpaw. Mirai and Naomasa were going over the 3 files the kid had forked over. So here's what we're going to do, Naomasa said, calling attention back to him. We're going to focus on the 3 dealers we've identified already, as we're confident of their popular spots and should be easier to catch. Eraserhead will be going to apprehend Mita, with Snipe as backup. Ingenium and Rocklock will be going to apprehend Enokita. Midnight will be going to apprehend Iwakiri, with Fourth Kind as backup. The Night Eye Agency will continue working with Dekiru on the case. Dekiru had finished scribbling something on a page of his notebook, then pulled it out and pushed it to the 2 heroes. Based on their routes, these are the places and times that are best for bringing them into custody, he said. The info was already in the folders, but I figured it'd make it easier if it was written out. I believe the meeting is adjourned then. Midai stood up, his sidekicks following suit. I'll get into contact with the heroes. The missions will be coordinated over the HN. Well, I don't know about you, but I would like a pastry before I have to go. Imiri winked. Shota just huffed at the ploy. It was obvious she wanted to pry more information out of Broccoli-chan. Oh, I can get some pastries for everyone. Dekiru perked up, slipping his notebook and laptop into the duffel bag behind the counter. He went to the back and everyone waved goodbye to the Night Eye Agency as they left. When he came back, he set down a pastry in front of everyone. Now, Izuku, Heigo said, commanding everyone's attention. We need to talk. Alright, y'all, so trigger warning for this chapter. For this next chapter, it talks about Dekiru's suicide attempt and depression and bullying, so do whatever you need to do for yourself to keep yourself safe, whether that be skipping this part of the video or having someone around to talk to. I completely understand. So, with that said, let's continue. After I take a small drink real quick. Chapter 9, A Very Important Talk. Izuku chuckled, the signature I'm in danger chuckle. What do we have to talk about? Problem child. Eraserhead leveled a glare at him, having his phone in his hand for some reason. Why did Hawk say that he had to talk you down from a roof? Izuku checked his phone, sending the pro hero a betrayed look. Hawks looked away with a whistle, drumming his fingers on the table. Guys, I'm alright, he said, and absolutely did not shrink back at the skeptical looks from everyone. He said he's probably not going to jump anymore, which I do believe, Hawk said. But he's also said that he's living alone, and I in good conscience could not allow that. Okay, but did he tell you why he was going to jump? Miss Joke asked, ignoring Izuku's small, I'm right here. Yeah, but I'm not going to say anything unless Izuku does, he responded. Suddenly, everyone's eyes were on Izuku. He looked down at his pastry, playing with his fingers, running them over the scars there. A band had settled around his chest, made out of insecurities. Sure, Hawks had accepted his uselessness, red quirklessness. But what about the rest of the heroes? He was overthinking. He just needed to blurt it out. I'm quirkless. The silence was thick, almost suffocating. He kept staring at his hands, not wanting to look up the heroes he admired, seeing the disgust or pity on their faces. He traced the scars on his arms, remembering how he got them. Shame, guilt, disgust, grief all coiled in his gut, tears starting to water up in the corner of his eyes. Izuku stood up, the screeching of the chair cutting through the silence. "I'm sorry," he's choked out. "I'll just go." He squeaked as he was grabbed, being pulled into a hug by the person right next to him, Present Mike, his brain helpfully supplied. He could hear other chairs moving in the background, and he felt more pairs of hands wrapping around him. Before he knew it, he was in a massive group hug. Present Mike was holding him from the front, Miss Joke from the back, Midnight from the left, and Ingenium from the right. Eraserhead had put one hand on his shoulder, and Hawks had glomped onto the hug, wrapping everyone in his wings. Izuku sniffled, letting tears roll down his face silently. He pulled back after a few moments, wiping the tears off of his face and taking a big bite of pastry. He was still tucked into Present Mike's side, Miss Joke on his other side. Everyone else moved around to the front, picking up their pastries and continuing to eat. "Midoriya, you're amazing," Miss Joke said, getting some nods from the other heroes. "Seriously, we were all sure you had some sort of analysis quirk, but the fact that you do that by yourself is impressive." "Never meet Nedzu," Eraserhead grumbled. "You'd take over the world." The UA teachers all shivered collectively at the thought. Hawks ruffled his hair, and Izuku squealed a little. "Seriously though, you're a genius. And challenging those pro heroes, that was fucking amazing." "Seriously, you gave no fucks." Midnight wiped a fake tear from her eye. "Truly inspiring." Izuku shrugged. "That was more of a today thing." "That should be an everyday thing. That was beautiful," Present Mike said. Izuku smiled, as Present Mew rubbed the side of his face. "Thanks, guys," he said as tears slipped down his face at the praise. He heard praise more often from the pro heroes, but on bad days like today, it really brought out the Midoriya genes. "Oh, don't cry, Broccoli-chan," Miss Joke said. Izuku chuckled, wiping them away. "It's okay. They're happy tears." "Speaking of which, we should talk about something," Detective Tsukuyoichi said, frowning down at his phone. "Is this true?" He presented the phone screen to Izuku, who scanned it. It was a set of private DMs between the detective and Hawks, explaining the fact that his father had fucked off and his mom just died. Izuku shot a look at Hawks, who looked away and started whistling innocently. "No?" Detective Tsukuyoichi gave him a disappointed look. "Anyways, the kid needs a place to stay." Izuku started sputtering as 5 heroes shouted dibs. Said 5 heroes started bickering about who was going to take him home. Izuku was slowly going more and more red, scooting over to where Eraserhead and the detective were speaking with each other. Eventually, Eraserhead activated his quirk and everyone quieted down, turning to the 2 men. Alright, first of all, I'm taking Midnight out of the running for foster parent, Detective Tsukuyoichi said. "I know you'd make a great parent, but CPS would never sign off on that, and I'd rather not have a lawsuit." Oh, fine," Midnight pouted, but sat down. "Anyway, I think you're all missing the point." Detective Tsukuyoichi turned to Izuku. "He should choose." Izuku blanched, and all of a sudden was met with 4 heroes doing their best impression of puppy dogs. His inner fanboy was freaking out, but he managed to stutter something out without making a complete fool of himself. Can I come back to that tomorrow?" "You have a place to stay?" Eraserhead asked gruffly, concern thinly veiled in his voice. Izuku nodded. "Yeah, being Dekiru allows me to pay the bills. Really, I'll be okay." "What if someone moved in with you?" Huck said. his wings vibrating. I know that the others can't just drop everything and try to rearrange things, but I don't have an apartment, and I needed a hotel room anyways. I'll stay the night, make sure everything's okay, and we'll figure it out from there. Everyone nodded, although Eraserhead looked at Hawks a little suspiciously. Your safety is our priority, Detective Tsukauchi said. I'm okay with it if you are, Izuku. Yeah, and if you don't want Hawks to stay over, one of us can, Miss Joke said. I'm gonna be here for the next month for the raid anyways. I'm already just crashing at Yamuri's place. No, Hawks is okay, Izuku said, swinging his duffel bag on his shoulder. Hawks put his hand on his shoulder, giving him a reassuring smile. We'll figure this out, alright? Izuku looked up at the faces of his friends, giving him reassuring smiles, and smiled in return. Maybe everything will be alright. Gonna take a drink real quick, y'all. Chapter 10. Settling in. Keigo subtly checked out the apartment, following after Midoriya. It was small and homely. Pictures of him and presumably his mom hung up all over the place. The couch had a couple of crocheted blankets and was covered in cat fur. Papers were strewn all over the kitchen table, and the kitchen was messy but physically clean. There were hand towels with little frogs embroidered hanging on the stove, possibly a gift from a coworker. The first door he saw was closed, with an All Might nameplate that said Izuku. A very loud meow drew his attention, and he zeroed in on the calico cat coming from the kitchen. I know, I'm sorry, Midoriya said to her, as she sat down in front of him and started meowing. I'm getting you dinner now. Keigo flopped on the couch, letting his wings spread out as he listened to Midoriya getting sushi. He assumed she was sushi for dinner. There was a surprising amount of plants in the apartment, pots holding various ferns and flowers. I didn't think you'd have so many plants, he commented idly. Oh, we didn't, because no one would be at home to water them, Midoriya responded from the kitchen, and he could hear the kid prepping something. But ever since I transferred to online school, my mom insisted I get a whole bunch of plants. She said that keeping the windows open and having a bunch of plants would make sure I got fresh air. Do you want some water? If you're offering. Keigo scanned the spread of papers on the coffee table. They were all written in some sort of code that he couldn't understand. Probably his analysis as Dekiru. He recognized a picture of Snipe. What's this? Midoriya came over with 2 glasses of water, Sushi trailing after him. Oh, Snipe commissioned me for analysis on him. It's mostly finished. I've just got to clean it up and make it readable. He hummed, taking a glass of water and scooting over on the couch. Midoriya sat down next to him and he stretched out one wing, draping it around the kid. Sushi jumped up, climbing over his lap and settling right between the two, purring contentedly as Keigo took off one glove and started scratching behind her ears. This is Sushi? He asked casually, already smitten. At Midoriya's nod, he continued. Where's the name from? He flushed, looking away from the hero. Well, I found her in a sushi takeout box. Keigo laughed, startling the cat. Midoriya smacked him lightly. Your names really are as bad as your fashion sense. Coming from pro heroes, Hawks? He snarked back, one eyebrow raised. Touché. They both jumped as an ugly squawking noises started coming from Keigo's jacket pocket. The hero fumbled, pulling out his phone and groaning at the caller ID. Sorry, kiddo. I gotta take this. Midoriya nodded, picking up his duffel bag from where he had plopped it at the end of the couch. I've gotta change anyways, he said, giving him a wave as he went into his room. Keigo sighed, mentally bracing himself as he answered the call. Hawks, his handler droned. Do you have any new information? I do, he said. I met Dekiru face to face at the meeting on the trigger case. He didn't give out his name or personal information, but we have a description. Excellent. What is it? Early university student, early 20s. Keigo lied easily, having been trained to be able to manipulate people with ease. His hair was dyed green, and he had natural green eyes. Freckles, too. That does fit the profile we've constructed, his handler said. Any information on All Might? No new information. I observed him, but it didn't yield anything. Fine. Anyways, we have a new objective for you. Oh. Keigo took sips of his water. Lying made him thirsty. Sue him. We need you to get a teaching position at UA. Keigo spit out his water, hacking out his lungs. What? I don't have any teaching experience. Well, you've got 10 months to prepare some teaching credentials. His handler seemed unamused. You have your orders. We'll arrange for an apartment in Mustafa. No need, he said quickly. I've got that handled. Very well. The phone clicked off. Keigo groaned, flopping face first into the couch. Are you okay, Hawks? Midoriya asked. The winged hero looked up to see him standing there sheepishly, looking concerned. He was wearing a present mic tee and a pair of sweatpants. I heard you choking. I'm fine, kid. Keigo sat up, patting the couch next to him. And call me Keigo. Talk to me, Keigo. It's only fair you know my name. Okay, Keigo-san? He raised an eyebrow as the kid sat down. Just Keigo's fine. Okay, Keigo, Keigo. His brows furrowed as he thought, sitting crisscross applesauce. Sushi apparently took that as an opportunity, jumping up and making herself comfortable in his lap. What was that phone call about? Keigo sighed. Well, apparently I'm supposed to become a teacher at UA. Got a what? Midoriya gaped. Do you even have a license? No, but apparently I'm gonna get one within the next 10 months. Keigo groaned. Then there's the issue of moving. Oh right, you don't actually have an apartment here. Midoriya trailed off when Sushi bumped his palm with her face. He smiled fondly, continuing to give her pets. I'd like to propose something, actually, Keigo said carefully, making sure to keep his posture relaxed as Midoriya looked up at him nervously. If you're okay with it, I can move in here. You keep the apartment and you're not living alone, and I have a place that's relatively nearby. Midoriya's eyes widened. Then he started mumbling, about as fast as he was analyzing that crystal villain, and even Keigo's advanced hearing couldn't pick it up. Sushi was squirming in his lap, unhappy that she wasn't getting pats. Keigo pss the cat, lightly scratching the couch beside him. She perked up, jumping out of Midoriya's lap, and gracefully walked over to him. He cooed a little as he pet her, and he was unashamed to admit that he was calling her a true queen, an angel, and a little baby. Midoriya was broken out of his muttering, and smiled at the scene. Well, if Sushi likes you, I suppose you can stay. Normally, I would say something sarcastic in return, but I've been blessed by an angel today. Keigo sniped back, continuing to pet the little creature who had migrated to his lap. Midoriya chuckled, and the hero could see him taking a picture with his phone, before scooting over and also starting to pet the cat. Well, Midoriya. Izuku, the kid interrupted. If I'm calling you Keigo, you can call me Izuku. Right. Keigo smiled at Izuku. I don't mind crashing on the couch if you don't have a guest room, but... No, it's okay. You can use my mom's. Izuku flushed, looking down at Sushi. Feels weird for me to move in there, since I've already got my own. Besides, you have big wings. You need the bigger bed. If you're okay with it, Keigo shrugged, hiding how touched he was. He raised an eyebrow when Izuku scooted over, pulling out a pen and starting to pull papers on the table to him. What are you doing? Oh, you don't mind if I work, do you? Kid, it's... He looked up at the clock. 11 at night. So? Izuku shrugged. I wake up at 10:30 in the morning. Keigo tried to hide a yawn. Lucky brat. He smacked him in the back of the head and stood up. Well, I'm gonna turn in for the night. You gonna be good out here? Izuku just leveled a look at him. I'll be fine. The hero hummed in acknowledgement, stretching his back and wings. If you need anything, let me know. When the kid nodded, he turned around, making his way to the master bedroom. Giving the kid one last peek over his shoulder, and taking a picture to send to the group chat, he smiled fondly. Izuku was leaning over the table, Peasant Mike's radio playing softly while he muttered up a storm and chewed on the end of his pen. The kid's gonna be alright. UA Teachers and Company, 11:28 p.m. Alright. Real quick note. I know I've been bad in the past episodes about not including the name key in the description, but I promise I'll do that starting this chapter, this episode, so with that, back to the video. Dekiru-chan. Sorry for worrying you guys. I'm home with Keigo, and he's gonna be moving in. He's sleeping right now. Eraserdad. Why is Hawks moving in? Anya Amasova. And when were you two on first name basis? Eraserdad. I want to be on a first name basis with the little listener. Dekiru-chan. You guys can. Also, apparently he's supposed to become a UA teacher. We just found out like 20 minutes ago, so we don't know a lot. Excuse me, I need to take a drink real quick. Eraserdad. This year's gonna be a nightmare. God. Well, Hawks can meet me in my office tomorrow, and we can go over his credentials then. Dekiru-chan. I'll let him know when he wakes up. Silver the Hedgehog. Anyways, first name basis. I'm Ida Tensei. Captain Jack Sparrow. Hukakaru Emi. Anya Amasova. Kayama Namiri. Jack Bugs Bunny. Usagiyami Rumi. Excuse me. Usagiyama Rumi. Fusroda. Yamada Hizashi. Dekiru-chan. Thank you guys for trusting me with this. Anya Amasova. You are a broccoli-chan. Trust in the broccoli. Jack Bugs Bunny. Wait. Dekiru is broccoli-chan? Silver the Hedgehog. Who? I forgot you weren't there. So, Hawks sends a photo of Deku working at the coffee table. It's him. Keigo! I thought you were asleep. Well, you keep blowing up my phone. Aren't you supposed to be working? Shit. Bye, everyone. Eraserdad. Language. Anya Amasova. Bye-bye. Captain Jack Sparrow. Bye. Fusroda. Goodbye, little listener. God. See you tomorrow, Dekiru. Anya Amasova. Fear. Sane UA Teachers, 11:43 p.m. Nedzu. There's been an interesting development. Cementos. What's going on now? Nedzu. Dekiru is going to be an interesting student next year. Ectoplasm.
He's going to be what?
Glad King.
Please don't tell me a little child has been running circles around the pro hero community for a year now.
Nedzu. Smiley face. Paraloda.
Nedzu, for the love of everything you hold dear, please don't put him in my class.
Nedzu. We'll see how everything plays out. I'm going to be meeting him face to face tomorrow. Hound Dog.
Alright. I'll let Shota know that he'll have to change his heroics at this class to include the new laws for when Nedzu and Dekiru take over the world.
Snipe.
I don't get paid enough for this.
Alright, y'all. So I feel like that's a good spot to end off this episode for now. I know my voices probably sound a little iffy in spots, but yeah, I'm still kind of getting over my sickness. I'm not as bad as I was like earlier this week, but as you can tell, my voice is still struggling some. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any suggestions or recommendations for fanfics that you want me to check out, or just anything you want to ask me, I respond to all comments if I can. So yeah, hope to see you in the comment section and in my next video. Ciao for now, y'all.